Reporting from the Business Day Policy Intervention Conference, where we'll be diving into a very crucial discussion on reclaiming capital. Now, come to think of it, what are the policy solutions for domiciliation of funds in Nigeria? Those are some of the discussions we'll be having today at the event. My name is Norma Obona, a broadcast journalist covering African business stories and innovations. Come with me as I speak to thought leaders, regulators, operators, and stakeholders on how we can make Nigeria a West African financial hub, and also some of the policies we should put in place to ensure that we all enjoy the domiciliation of funds right here in Nigeria.
It is important that events like this take place. And the reason is simple. There's a need for a feedback mechanism and the juggling of ideas and thoughts, around what people do, what we do as regulators, and what the operators think that we should do, and what they think that they should do. So this is very, very important because cross-fertilization of such ideas will bring about the benefit for clarity and transparency within the market space. The transformation that is going on at the SEC is a very important transformation because it speaks to the global economy, it speaks to the national economy, and it speaks to financial system stability. And so it's important that the operators continue to engage, the operators continue to ask questions. And of course, we at the SEC are very much available to answer them. We have various platforms for which this can happen. We have got social media handles. Of course, our website is there. Our emails are working. The telephones are working. So clearly, you can reach out to the SEC at any point in time to make inquiries and get results for it. So you can't stop discussing, you can't stop engaging, and in engaging and discussing, you're able to find what they call the fine points, around regulation and, of course, operation. So once that happens, of course, the next result you get is success.
Yes, so this is what the fund domiciliation study was about, to see how Nigeria becomes more attractive as an investor attractive domiciliation jurisdiction. And like we talked about, investors look at things that make them comfortable, understanding regulation, stability in regulation. It's not about the regulation, but it's about the consistency of the regulation. And also regulation around taxation, regulation around operational issues, regulation even around the structure and setting up. So all the regulatory areas, operational areas, everything that makes that ecosystem comfortable, that makes that ecosystem understandable, transparent, authentic, is really what they're looking for. And so the good thing is Nigeria already has examples to copy from, either examples outside Nigeria or example outside Africa or examples within Africa, like Mauritius, that is already a mature jurisdiction. So there's something to leverage on. We are not just pioneers, but because of the demographics of Nigeria, in terms of investment capital that is available, whether it's formal or informal, and on the demand side and on the supply side, there are huge potentials. So whether for the portfolio companies that are going to take on the capital or the investors that are going to deploy their investments, the two sides are available. Now, the added advantage that Nigeria has, it has a large pool of institutional investments and also an untapped retail investment base. So Nigeria sits in a very, very peculiar environment. And if well harnessed and if intentional, Nigeria indeed cannot just be an investment destination, but it can actually be an investment hub, a regional investment hub, for Africa. I see Nigeria playing a major role, but I think it's really about being intentional about regulations and incentives that makes the jurisdiction, the geography itself, Nigeria, attractive to the investments.
I think generally the firm is interested in supporting the capital markets as area we play a big role in, particularly fund formation as well as advising investors. And we think that this is a topic that's quite important, given how many funds we see domiciled abroad and given the increased interest in Nigerians in making investments in companies. We think that this is a topic that is important for us to discuss and to debate. If you look at particularly what's going on in America, for example, with the tariffs, we see that globalization is sort of taking a pause and everyone is sort of focusing on their own economy and on their own businesses. And I think giving the pause in this investment. This is an opportunity right now for Nigerians to take advantage. They say, look, bring your money into Nigeria. If you want to invest in Nigeria, domicile it here. We have the opportunities, we have the know-how, we are on ground, and we can also get the benefits of the funds being domiciled here, as opposed to supporting or lifting up the economies of other countries. We can improve the economies within Nigeria and Africa as a whole. So I think that's why when we look at what's happening geopolitically, is the time for us to focus on what's going on domestically. I think what's been very interesting is how much the SEC has done in this space. So it's been clear, seeing the DGEC is very active in promoting domiciliation and promoting a larger capital market space in Nigeria. I think what's clear though from the conversations that there needs to be more dialogue. There needs to be more events like this where regulators, practitioners, and even advisors like ourselves can come together to discuss what's happening practically on ground. It was very interesting to hear, for example, Deepo from Vero talking about how long it took him to register a new fund in 14 months. But now the DG has explained, based on new reforms that have been brought in, that time has been reduced to about 2 weeks now from 2 years. I think that's the kind of conversation that we want, whereby practitioners can say this is what they're experiencing, and regulators can give the context for their decisions.
It was quite interesting. I really appreciate the fact that the SEC DG was around and was actively engaged. I think main takeaway is regulator clearly seems willing to listen and open-minded. So that's very encouraging, because it feels like we can do great things together with that kind of mindset. Dialogue is very important. So, everyone comes at issues from their very different perspectives, and just coming together and sharing those different perspectives and getting like a holistic view is absolutely critical to building a solid ecosystem. It's all about the quality of the regulatory framework. So if we have, more well thought out regulations that you can understand the objective and at least the philosophy behind it, that kind of gives you a sense of what may or may not come in future. That definitely strengthens investor confidence, and it will serve to attract investors.
We had a lot of people here today. We had the operators and we had the regulator, ably represented by Dr. Agama. We had operators, we had Bawo and Ikodalo, we had Verod Capital, PEFCA, we had the development partner GIZ, we had the tax reforms, and something is just clear. The publisher, Mr. Ibugu, when he was giving his opening remark, he said, regulations are there, they're put in place, to check certain things. But also when you put those regulations to check the risk, you also allow for them to, because when you check it, it's also for them to grow. It's, you check, you mitigate against, risk, and also that, policy that you have put or regulation to mitigate against the risk. When the risk is mitigated, it's also to allow for growth. So most of what investors are talking about, we're talking about in terms of regulations, policies for tax, holidays, creating an enabling environment. We've had that conversation. Some of the things that, were spoken about, creating an enabling environment, a stable enabling environment,